Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our 5th session in our 6-part yoga series, Cultivate Balance and Self-Mastery. In this series, we will explore bipolar disorder from a unique perspective. Brooke and Violet will connect yoga philosophy and gentle, accessible yoga practices with psychoeducation. Breath awareness, gentle movement, and simple meditation will be repeated and completely optional. As you can see today, it is just Violet and I. Brooke is unfortunately not feeling well today, so we're just gonna, send out good thoughts, good, vibes that she starts feeling better really soon. And so if you didn't join us for our previous 4 sessions, you can take a moment after this class to watch those recordings on our YouTube or Facebook, and you can hear a little bit more about Violet and Brooke's personal mental health and yoga journeys, and practice additional breathing and movement exercises. So thank you, Violet, for joining us again today and offering this wonderful practice.
Hey, so good to be here. I know, and so sad without Brooke, but I know she'll be back next week and then it'll be even better. So yeah. Today, sort of what we had in mind was we've talked a little bit about mixed moods. We've talked a little bit about anxiety. And so we thought today we could talk through the lens of depression and sort of what yoga practices, breathing techniques would be the best for handling that. And I thought that I could also sort of talk about my own personal experience with depression, with this diagnosis. So to start, let's just do a little bit of a grounding practice, a little meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes. Wherever you're seated, whether your feet are on the ground, whether some sort of your legs, whatever is making contact to that surface, feel yourself really anchored down. Meet the ground, the floor, the props beneath you. Provide this like solid foundation for you to just sit here, safe, comfortable. I invite you to draw your awareness inward. And just notice your breath. And try to take a long, slow breath in. And then gently let it go. And we'll do that again. Long, slow, deep breath in. And gently let that go. Just sort of hang here in that little hammock of your breath, following your inhales and then following your exhales. Sort of like a pendulum swing side to side. Just notice that rhythm, that natural rhythm of your breath. As you breathe, see if you can't slow your breath down just a little bit. If you can't notice your breath as it goes deep down into your lungs. And keep that connection to your breath. I'm just gonna ask up some broad questions. My meditation teacher, David G, will have these sort of questions of inquiry that he will ask us. And it's not necessarily about finding an answer. I'll ask you a question, you may not even have an answer, and that's okay. It's not about what comes up, it's just more about asking the question. And so the first question is, who am I truly? Who am I truly? Just marinate with that question. Answers may come, no answers may come. Both is okay. Anything that does or does not come up is okay. Who am I truly? Second question is, what and who am I grateful for? What and who am I grateful for? Try not to hang on too much to one thing. Just let that list sort of run in your mind. Who, what am I grateful for? And the third question is, what does my heart truly long for? What does my heart truly long for? Place one hand over your heart. Ask yourself again, what is it that my heart truly longs for? Right? And just soften here. Soften your body. Soften your breath. You can lower your hand back down onto your lap, somewhere down onto your legs. And we'll just take a few more moments, maybe a minute or two, to do a type of breathing that Brooke talked about the last 2 weeks, and it's that 1-to-1 breath. Right? So you're inhaling for a certain count, and then you're exhaling for that same count. So why don't you pick a number? It might be inhaling to the count of 2 and exhaling to the count of 2. Could be to 3, could be to 4, to 5, to 6. Whatever feels right for you, whatever deepness or pace of breath feels right. Let's take about a minute or two and just breathe with that 1-to-1 breath. Right? And then as your awareness naturally drifts away from your breath, without any judgment, just come right back, start counting your breath again. This sort of breath, in a way, represents balance. Equal parts, creating one whole experience of breath. So as you breathe here, intend to be right in the center, left to right. Intend to be in the center of your body, front to back, and top to bottom. Feel your sit bones anchored down and lift the spine, lift the crown of your head up high. Nice tall spine. Relax your shoulders down. Feel your feet or whatever is touching the ground, touch firmly. And if you'd like, you can open your eyes. Bring your hands together, heart center. We'll just move right into some movement here. So as you inhale, reach your arms up above your head. Connect your palms together, and as you exhale, bring your hands together at heart center. Right? So we're doing that equal part breath. Inhale, reach your arms up. And then exhale, bring your hands together, heart center. More like that. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands together, heart center. Now going in reverse direction, reach your hands up, palms together. And then turn your hands away from you as you exhale. Float them out by your sides. Inhale, hands at heart center, reach them up above your head. Exhale, palms out to the side and away from you. One more like that. Inhale, reach right up. Palms away, exhale, lower your hands down. And then bring your hands together, heart center. Like notice that little subtle shift of energy. Beginning to move things around in your body, circulating things. And so for depression, what we really want to do with yoga postures is open up the chest, open up the heart. So oftentimes we can kind of feel like everything is caving in. So during this practice, we're going to do some stuff that opens up the chest. Right? So inhale, reach your arms up above your head. And then as you exhale, bring your arms out wall to wall, elbows like a cactus. And then press your heart up through your upper back, press forward and up. And then come to a neutral spine and reach your arms back up above your head. Connect your palms and exhale to heart center. There's a little bit of movement here with heart openers. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, elbows out to the side like cactus arms. Lift your chest up. And then reach your arms back up above your head. Connect your palms. And exhale, heart center. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, elbows out to the side. This time, take a deep breath in here. Lift your chest up. Exhale it out. Inhale, reach your arms above your head. And then exhale, connect back to center. One more like that. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, elbows out to the side. Draw your shoulder blades together. Heart lifts up. Exhale the air out. And then inhale to reach up. And exhale, hands together, heart center. We'll take a little twist here. Take your right hand to your left thigh, your knee, somewhere on your leg, and then take your left arm somewhere back behind you. So this can be as deep or as simple and gentle of a twist as you'd like. I would suggest start off pretty gentle, right? So it's this nice lift through the spine. Lift the crown of your head up. Relax your shoulders down. Take a breath here, gazing off to the left. And then gently come through center. Take a moment just to pause here. And then we'll twist over to the other side. Left arm to the outside of your right leg. And then right arm reaches back behind you. Sit tall. Relax your shoulders down. Take a breath in. And then we'll slowly transition through center. Take your time and come into the twist on the other side again. Right hand outside of left leg. Sit tall. And then gently come through center. And take it over to the other side. Move slow with your breath. So my pace may be a little too fast. It may be a little too slow. Come through center and take it to the other side. So you just want to go at the pace that feels natural and right for you. Inhale, come back through center. Reach your arms up above your head. And then drop your right arm down to the side and reach your left arm up and over your ear. Just arch right to the side. Beautiful. And then lower your left hand down. Inhale your right arm up and gently begin to reach over to the left. Inhale through center, switch arms, and then exhale to reach over. So pick up the pace just a little bit. Inhale, reach your right arm up, and it's that exhale to bend over. Inhale, come up. And then exhale, reach over. So with depression, keep moving with your breath, switching sides. With depression, it helps actually to create a little bit more movement in the body. Picking the pace up just a little bit can get that prana, that energy really flowing. Let's do one more each side. Nice. Beautiful. And then come to center. Why don't you just rest your hands down on your legs, right? And so you might be able to feel sort of that energy, that movement going already. So you always want to move at the pace that feels right to you. And intuitively, sometimes your body knows how fast or how slow it needs to go. So with depression, opening up the chest, opening up your heart center is invigorating. And you want to add that kind of energy when you're feeling lethargic and when you're feeling kind of stuck and, tense and lethargic. You really want to add a little bit more life. We call it prana, this vital force energy. And that's what's going to move through you as you create movement in the body. So let's just release a little bit of tension that's often held in the neck and shoulders as well. So why don't we do those eagle arms that I love so much? Just bring your arms out side to side. Cross your right arm over your left, right at your elbows. You can either grab opposite shoulders. You could connect the back of your palms, or you maybe even can hook your fingers to your palm. Right? And then you want to lift your elbows up so they're in line with your shoulders. Relax your shoulders down and just breathe here. Another key with depression is to keep that vital force energy, that prana, which is dictated by your breath, going. Right? So whether you're breathing in for the count of 2 or more, really focus on your breath. Release this. You can reach your arms above your head just like as this nice little rinse. And then bring them back out wall to wall. Cross your left arm over your right at your elbows. Again, find that arm variation that feels right for you. And then from here, same thing. You want to lift up your elbows. Relax your shoulders down. And that 1-to-1 breath. Let's do 3 rounds of that. At your own pace, in your own time. Try to just breathe conscious, intentional breaths. Beautiful. Once you're complete, you can unravel your arms and reach your arms above your head. And then release your hands to your side. You can rest them anywhere that's comfortable, and then we'll do a little stretch for the neck. Take your left ear to your left shoulder. Great, and so breathe into the space across the right side of your neck. Same thing, that 1-to-1 breath. Conscious breath awareness. And something that could feel good is if you take your right arm, reach it out to the side. Reach it out to the side, either hover above the floor or off your chair. And then walk your fingertips back a little bit. You can also walk your fingertips forward and notice that that may or may not change the sensation of the stretch. Find that intuitive awareness of what feels good here. Maybe once you feel a spot that feels tense, like it really needs this stretch right here, consciously send your breath right there. Beautiful. And then gently release your right arm. Drop your chin to the center of your chest. Lift your head up. We always want to take that moment just to notice the differences. Notice what it feels like on each side. And then we'll take it over. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. Try to relax your shoulders down. Notice if you're tensing anywhere in your body. See if you can't just soften. And if you like that option, you can take your left arm out to the side. And then kind of walk your fingertips, your hand back or forward. Move slow. Really notice the journey along the way of the differences and the sensations. You may keep this movement going, or you might just find a spot that you want to pause and breathe into. And then gently release this. Roll your chin to the center of your chest. And then as you inhale, lift your head up. Something that I always like to say after any little yoga practice is, again, oftentimes intuitively our body might say, oh, this is good, I feel well rested, or it might feel like there's something else I want to do. So if there's something else that you want to do, do it. So if it's another twist, if it's another side body stretch, anything like that, always let your yoga practice feel complete. So I always want to encourage that, is listen to your intuitive awareness with your body, and I'll keep going from there. So hopefully there's been some sort of shift in your body from that kind of movement. We picked up the pace just a little bit from the last few weeks. And again, that's just because oftentimes with depression, we just need to get some energy moving. So with that feeling of being so stagnant and stuck, there can sometimes feel like this resistance to get up and make a change, make a movement. Like for me, sometimes it was like even getting up to get a glass of water seemed like the hardest thing in the world when I was really kind of stuck in that state. And so really kind of these little baby steps, like these little tokens that you can give yourself along the way makes all the difference. And so a short practice like that, or even shorter, is really going to help you out. If you can do it on a daily basis, that's even better. So a lot of the research that is out there is saying anywhere from 2 to 3, if more, the better, days a week of doing a yoga practice can really, really help aid in a complementary tool to healing depression. So if you can do it, maybe even set the goal of like 2 minutes a day or 2 poses a day, and then check off your box and be proud of yourself. So something that I think we just need is a little bit more encouragement and compassion to get up and do small things that go a long way, even if our minds say that they might not be. So something that I thought I could talk about today is a little bit of my own experience with depression and a little bit of yoga philosophy that can kind of tie in to this barrier, this kind of like self-imprisonment that sometimes it can feel like in depression. So I shared sort of in the first session that I've gone through 3 cycles of mania followed by depression. And the first cycle I kind of got off pretty well without having to be too depressed, because I actually enrolled in my first yoga teacher training. So it kind of came at this convenient time where, without me even realizing that I had sort of escaped that depression, I always wonder that if it was the training and the continuing practice that I was in that really helped me with that. But the second 2 times that I were depressed, it felt classical in the sense that what you read online kind of represented what I had. It's the difficulties with appetite, difficulties with sleep, fatigue, restlessness, ruminating thoughts. And it was really weighing me down to a point where I felt trapped. I do kind of think of it as this feeling of being like a prisoner where you're the guard. And it took a long time to get out. And I think that the mental barriers is what really got me stuck the most, as I started to almost see and understand that it felt like a mental game to me. It really felt like a trick that my mind was playing on me, and that it was, ultimately my mind and, the physiological responses that my body had been having to this was weighing me down, and it was keeping me in inertia, very hard to keep things moving. So ultimately, this last round of depression was when I wish she was here, but that's when I found Brooke. And it was through having a yoga therapist, having a resource to go to on a weekly basis. We met twice a week at least. And that's what ultimately got me through. And part of the process felt really frustrating because I didn't feel like I was making progress. Little to no, I was, but it didn't feel like it. And something that Brooke always told me, and I know she would say it if she was here, is depression kind of sounds like deep rest. And so the question that was posed to me was, maybe it's okay for you to be resting deeply right now. Maybe it's okay. And maybe that little bit of movement, that little bit of breath awareness is exactly what you need. And I think that almost what it felt like was, before I even knew it, all of a sudden I was feeling better. All of a sudden I was feeling more connected to my heart, to my true self. So when I posed the questions at the beginning, like, who are you truly? And what is it that your heart longs for? Those are huge questions. Those are really, really big things that are difficult to answer. And I think they're even harder to answer when you're in a depressed state where you can feel so closed off from that connection. And I thought that I would tie in a yoga philosophy that I really love. I think it's very interesting. And it comes from the philosophy, it's called avidya, and that is about non-dualism. So in order for there to be a philosophy on non-dualism, you need to have respect that there's some dualistic properties here. So really what it's saying is that who we are at our core, like think about who you are at your core is this light bulb. And they say that there are these 5 layers called koshas that sort of like lampshades cover up that light within. So for me, I talk so much about my experience with my mind, and that is kind of like the 3rd layer in. And one of the things that the mind can do is the mind can make you feel trapped. And one of the things that they talk about in this philosophy is that it's a protective barrier. So if at the center of it is your little light bulb where your heart resides, like your mind can be this protective barrier that doesn't let things from the outside world come in. And so I think about how I felt in depression was like my mind was really good at protecting myself. When I say like I feel like I was in the prison and I was my own guard, I kind of think about that as my mind and how that operates as this layer that really was keeping me from seeing and believing my true self was in there. That there was actually this life, that there was actually this energy, that there was actually something in me that loved myself. And there was something in me that wanted to get up and had some motivation. And it felt like all of that was sort of sucked out of me. And I do think about it as that barrier. I wasn't really able to see those things, project those out, or receive those things in. So I think about the mind that's called the Manomaya Kosha. And then after that, another outermost layer is what I've been talking about, is the prana and the energy. So if your vital force energy isn't moving in your body, that can correlate to things like feeling stagnant, like feeling stuck and lethargic and tired and groggy, like you're kind of in this sort of fog. And really, if that vital force energy isn't moving, then it's not animating your physical body, which is the outermost layer. So we think about how depression is almost a tangible thing in the sense that our bodies can feel it. and our minds can feel it. So it's interesting how it parallels a little bit with this philosophy and these layers that are all affected, and really with the mind being the stopping part, this guard, and those can all be softened. So there's kind of a bi-directional way that you can move and heal with yoga. You can go from the inside out, and you can go from the outside in. So I would consider outside in would be a little bit of what we did with movement. You're starting with your body, your energy, you're linking up your mind to be involved in these movements, and it can allow you to come inward, to really experience that who are you truly? What is it that your heart longs for? We can get to that space through movement, and we can get to that space through pranayama, through breath. And we can also do some inquiry, like we did at the very beginning, just by asking simple questions, just by coming into some space of stillness and silence. We can work from the inside out. And so those are really, really powerful relationships that yoga can have with any aspect of our life, but really especially depression. So we want that energy to move freely so we can be in balance. We want the energy to kind of like knock on that barrier, at least for me, like knock on that prison door and say like, hey, there's stuff that's really great in there. And it can feel really difficult to move through that fog. And there can be a lot of self-judgment. So something that is very common with depression, kind of a classical symptom, is low self-esteem. And I wonder if that low self-esteem is because we're feeling so separate from that light, what our heart longs for. I wonder that a lot. I wonder if that felt kind of like what makes sense for me and how my depression looked like. But the low self-esteem stuff is ultimately, it's like this illusion, really, I think, to what you are. And I think that the mind is so good at keeping us in those illusions and thinking that like we're stuck like this, that it's fear. For me, it's like fear. Am I ever going to be better? Am I ever going to be whole? Am I ever going to, genuinely feel like I have some vitality running through me? And ultimately, I think a lot of people with depression that have come on the other side, and like maybe you listening have experienced this for yourself, or you're in the midst of it, where people might say, like, there is another side, there is hope that this can get better. And there is. And I think that a really, really difficult thing to have is a belief in yourself, because ultimately that's where it comes from the most. So other things of working from the outside in is we have the pharmaceuticals that can help with the chemicals, and the chemical imbalances in our mind. We have therapies, we have professionals that we can go to that can really help aid from the outside in this process. You can use yoga as a tool to work from the outside in. And you can also use a little bit of self-inquiry, a little bit of meditation to just go silent. Not so much about coming up with the answers in your mind, but maybe having some trust that there is something at the core of you, that is vital, that is so connected to what your heart really wants and longs for. And yoga would say ultimately that like that right there is wholeness. And you are whole. But with a lot of components that have to kind of make up everything. So yoga is this mind body connection tool where you can work from the inside out or the outside in. And for me, it's been so transformational that I get so excited to share it with everybody else. Emily, do you have any thoughts with this?
Well, I just wanted to mention some comments that we have from some people. Maggie just wanted to say thank you for sharing your experience, your strength and hope around yoga and how it's helped you in your, personal recovery journey. And myself included, it's really It's really amazing hearing just how passionate you are about it. And I know that that passion comes from how, you know, impactful it's been in your journey. And I hope that other people can feel encouraged to kind of put their energy into something that gives them energy as well. And Irene was asking, what's a good book to read if you know about, yoga philosophy and depression and how the energy can move forward to relieve depression? Do you know of any good books like that?
I'm trying to think of, there's some yoga psychology books that I really love that I wish I could rattle off the authors and the title of, but if you look up yoga psychology books online, I think that you'll absolutely find some hits. I can look, I do have a pretty good library. I can look through and see. I'm just so bad with remembering authors and stuff. Some of this more traditional things that I've learned, like the koshas and the layers that I've been talking about, those come from more traditional yogic texts. Ones that you can probably find easy translations with. I know a really great place for me is just the Yoga Sutras, which is so jam-packed with a lot of philosophy that it could feel a little overwhelming. But someone that describes the koshas, the layers of life really well is Deepak Chopra. I could probably spell his name or send that out. And then there's my meditation teacher that I work closely with, his name is David G, David with J-I on the end. And he has some really wonderful books. There's a book called Sacred Powers that really talks about not so much specifically through the lens of mental health, but they're so interrelated. Mental health is a lot about how our mind works and sort of the ailments that we can have through it. So talking about meditation and yoga, you can read a ton of books that are going to relate and sort of give you these insights, but you might have to connect the dots. It might not be written out so clearly, but any books that are incorporating yoga and psychology together, that's where I've done a ton of reading where I found like things have been laid out in a way that it matches up really well. So I will look through, and then the next session I'll be able to tell you who these books are by. But it is so fascinating to find the correlations between the philosophy and what it is that we're experiencing. And I think that there can be a little bit of comfort in that people were feeling depressed thousands of years ago. Maybe people had bipolar thousands of years ago. I could certainly believe it. There was a lot more talk about dualism, about opposites, and how yoga is really this uniting of everything together. And I think about what a beautiful, place to land on for bipolar, because it can feel so disheartening to feel like I can go into these two places. But yoga teaches us that like it's okay. Those places, like those are natural places. It's okay that you go there, but like there's a tool and there's a method to really bring you into balance, to wholeness. And it's always this up and down. It's always this little pendulum swing, but maybe through yoga, we can get our extremes to come in a little bit more, so we feel a little bit more whole. So our moods are less way up and way down. So we don't have that like rocket off into wherever, irritability, bliss, and then get down and kind of stuck in the dumps of depression. So yoga is really this like, hey, let's inch towards union. And it's a beautiful tool, and there has to be patience, and above all else, there has to be non-judgment. And that's, I think, one of the hardest things for me. And I think from my connection to other people that have bipolar, depression, anxiety, other mental health situations, there can be a lot of judgment. And that kind of has to go out the door. And part of the yoga practice for me is welcoming those feelings. I can welcome the feelings of judgment, the feelings of despair, the you're not good enough, you're not going to heal, you're not strong enough kind of stuff. I eventually I had to kind of like welcome it and sit with it and almost do like a little sanitizing of it in my own heart and my own practice. And then very easily for me, eventually, when I would welcome those feelings in, and I would ask myself, like, is this true to who I think I am? Like, is this true to what my heart longs for? And I think most of the time the answer is no. And so eventually it's this practice of self-acceptance that goes hand in hand with the self-awareness that comes from really witnessing the experiences from the outside and witnessing the feelings and the thought forms from within. And the practice of yoga, it'll get you to that point. It'll get you to that point for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate too what you're mentioning about how it is kind of like a unifying practice, because I feel like too I don't personally have bipolar disorder, but I do suffer from, or not suffer, but I experience pretty bad anxiety and stuff like that. And even though yeah, it does definitely sometimes. But we have different, our minds are different, but we can both practice the same things to heal our minds together. And I think that is really great too. And what you were saying about the judgment, the more that you can connect and relate to different people through a similar practice, is the more that you can encourage and uplift and create these, I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but just create these kind of connections and healing that you can share with other people in your life. You don't have to be moving forward through this alone. You can really bond with so many other people, which I think is really amazing, and just kind of breaks that barrier of stigmas in so many different aspects of life, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the stigma is really difficult, and I think that a huge thing during the practice, during the learning, it has been a lot of study for me that has helped me a lot, but I think everybody has different avenues where yoga sort of turns on that light bulb. But I think that being able to know that it's universal, that it doesn't really matter what the specific ailment is. There's qualities throughout the yoga practice that are specifically meant to balance those things. And so I can talk quickly about another topic that I find very interesting that goes pretty hand in hand with mania and depression, and then sort of what that sweet balance would look like. And so in yoga philosophy, there's something called prakriti, which is basically what nature is, what exists in nature, what exists in all of us, and they're called the gunas, the 3 gunas. So on one hand, we have sort of this like heat, fiery activity, this sort of like go type energy. It's called rajas. And then on the other end, and this is where you'd find more of the depression, is called tamas. And tamas is more cool, lethargic, think like water and earth, like mud kind of stuck. There can be sort of that like lazy energy. And then right in the middle is called sattva. And this is like this sweet balance, this like feeling of lightness. So, and these qualities exist in everything, like there's rajas in my passion of speaking about this. And there's like tamas just by us sitting and being quiet and still right now. And there's always a constant dynamic flow. And so sometimes what's helpful for me to think about, okay, I'm in a state of tamas. I'm in a state where it's hard for me to get up. I feel stuck. Like, I don't want to get up. I just need a little bit of rajas to like light some fire and like get me moving. So sometimes thinking about it in sort of different qualities or different elements of like what would be a natural remedy right now to sort of get me moving, those can be really great things to think about too. So like I talk about depression, Sometimes creating a little bit more movement, a little bit more invigorating poses, like opening up the heart, is that like rajas. That's going to kind of like get you out of that tamas. And we talk about the sort of, you know, symbology of fire is it's like this heat that's going to burn things away. It's like burn away that stuck, stagnant tension. You know, yoga philosophy does say like that we keep our issues in our tissues. So if we can move through our body and kind of get some like life force pumping in there, maybe we can feel some sort of release of everything that's been stuck. Maybe we'll create more space to really feel like we can get up and move through the day and be okay. So that's a really awesome philosophy that I like to think about too, is like, okay, this is the quality of how I feel. So what would be the opposite of that could get me to get moving? And another thing that I do want to say for depression is I deeply know what it's like to be in complete despair. And I did like voluntarily admit myself to the hospital twice for both of my depressions, because I really needed some sort of change badly, because I couldn't get myself to that point until I really kind of found that connection again with yoga. But in that place of where it feels so hard to move, where it's like scary, everything's like fearful, even getting up to brush my teeth was like scary. Just those little bit, when I say if you can do just 2 minutes of, you know, even like this, that's gonna get some stuff flowing, and then lie back in bed with the Netflix, you know, that little like give yourself permission, like Brooke says, deep rest, and also like find that element that can get you out and do something different, and then give yourself praise. So that's a huge thing too, is with the low self-esteem symptom can make it really hard to like pat ourselves on the back for doing something good for our whole body, our whole being, something that is probably going to project us forward, moving in a place that we would want to go. So it's that I have to remind myself sometimes, like I get up and I do a little bit of movement, and then I'm like, thank you. Thank you for doing something good. You know, that wasn't as hard as I thought. That wasn't as hard as my mind made it out to be. So short of, if we can shake off the heaviness, do it for a short time, be compassionate and encouraging, and little by little, that sense of change will just ripple out. It is a ripple effect. It doesn't have to feel so daunting and so like it's going to be this big fight. I don't think any time that I've gotten out of the depression, it's been as much as an excruciating fight to get out as it is to stay in. I was fighting more to stay in depression unconsciously. It wasn't like I want to stay here kind of thing. That wasn't what my heart truly longed for, but on some level, felt like my mind was kind of keeping me there. So it doesn't have to be this big fight. A little bit at a time is so much more than I would have ever realized while going through it. So I hope that in sharing that with other people, it can give people a sense of hope and a sense of acceptance that where you're at is, I want to say it's normal. You know, I don't like the word normal, because feelings and emotions and moods, and there's a whole spectrum of them for a reason, and they're all appropriate to feel. You know, and everyone, I think, just wants to gain some control. And I think that for me, tapping into what I felt like, you know, was closest to my heart and what I longed for and who I truly believe myself to be, isn't what depression was telling me. Isn't even what mania was telling me. Mania would say so many wonderful things, but it's the sweet spot in the middle. It's that sweet balance spot that ultimately I don't want to lose that. So that's like, you know, yoga is so integrated as part of my daily life because wholeness and balance, at the end of the day, like what does my heart truly long for? It's typically screaming balance and equanimity. And yoga has been that ultimate tool for me to get to that point and feel content. So yeah. So hopefully that will help. And I know that I wanted to say too about the comments from last week. One woman sent an email about sleep, and you know, what can get tough with bipolar is we know we want to try to go to sleep and wake up around the same time every day, as routine as possible would be great. And it's funny, she brought up something that I struggle with too, is I go to bed late, therefore I like sleep in and wake up late. But to sort of be on the same page as what most people's lifestyles are, it'd be nice to wake up earlier. And I almost want to save that topic of sleep for Brooke, just because she's so well versed in it and her experience in restorative yoga and more of that relaxing yoga nidra. That's gonna be so, I think, enlightening and helpful for sleep. Definitely. So we'll say like save that one for Brooke next session. And then another person was interested in doing some standing balancing poses, and those are wonderful. There's so many reasons to do different standing postures as well. In this specific series, Brooke and I decided that we would do seated just to make it as accessible as possible for everybody. We wanted to do shorter practices, so maybe it can feel less daunting, a little bit easier to say, like, I'm going to pick that one little sequence thing that we did, and I'm going to just do that, and then did my yoga for the day. So that's sort of why we're doing the practice the way that it is now. And I'll say too, you know, Brooke is a yoga therapist, and so she does that sort of tailor-made practice for things. I also teach private yoga classes. As of right now, you just have to send me, I just go by email to set things up, where it's also a lot more custom tailored, custom made to what it is that you want, what it is that your body wants, what's present for you in your mind and your life, and how can we sculpt a practice and do that together. So Brooke and I are both open and available for those kind of things, as well as the abundant resources online. Like I would 100%, I'm an advocate for go YouTube search. I'm an advocate for try out the free trials of all the different online yoga platforms. It's amazing what's available right now. It can almost be like overwhelming because there's so much stuff, but if you just like close your eyes and pick a video, you'll probably be very happy. very happy.
Well, I think that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much, Violet, for sharing more on your personal journey and your personal experiences. I know that really is just great for people to hear, you know, and see kind of that their own experiences are, other people share them as well.
Yes.
In that, you know, you can do something like this and feel a little bit better and work towards, you know, your overall just healing journey and kind of getting into rhythm of healing and growth through yoga. And so if you have any additional follow-up questions, I know we have some questions or comments that we didn't get to necessarily in this session. We have our final session next week on Wednesday, so we'll try and jam pack a bunch of stuff into that you guys want to see. So just email either myself at info@ibpf.org, or you can email Brooke while she's not here at brookewestyoga@gmail.com, or you can email Violet at loveys.violet@gmail.com. And we can work together to make the best last session for you guys. If you have, you know, additional questions or want to know more about yoga therapy, you can visit Brooke's website, which is brookewestyoga.com. As well as Violet mentioned, you can, you know, learn more about the private sessions through that website or by emailing Violet. So thank you again, Violet, for this wonderful class. This session will be recorded and available on our website or our YouTube channel. The link for the YouTube channel is in our Zoom chat if you want to just click on that super quickly. And we want to remind you that, again, we have our last session next Wednesday, so we hope that you will join us. So thank you, everybody, for attending, and we wish you a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.